All right, welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Outlook in the DeFi Dojo. Today is January 14th, and we're going to discuss the markets, the charts, and what we might expect in the week ahead. Heavy, that's funny. All right, so we're going to start with the dollar, like we usually do. And just going forward, what I'm going to do, I think, starting this year, in order to get more people to know about the DeFi Dojo and to know what we do here and how well we do, I usually only post the weekly outlooks on the first week of the month live to YouTube. However, last week, even with the echo on the stream, it did really well, and we got quite a few new people in here because of that video, I think. And my main purpose is to educate people on how to read charts and make their own decisions. And I want to continue to do that, and I want to do that for as many people as I possibly can. So what I'm going to start doing is posting every weekly outlook on YouTube. However, I'm going to delay it by at least 2 days. I haven't decided yet. So you're still going to be able to participate in the live stream with me, ask me questions, make chart requests live, and you can ask me anything in here. Don't be shy. So that is going to still be a perk of being a premium member, as well as being able to see it a few days beforehand. And as you know, we typically get the first moves of the week, typically happen Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. By Thursday and Friday, it's kind of like, you know, we're lower in volume, and things are kind of just going sideways more often than not. So with that said, let's look at the dollar. The dollar has been in a downtrend since November, and now it's been going sideways for a number of weeks here. And markets like a stable dollar. Like if it's just going sideways, markets like that. The market doesn't like a dollar that is erratic and moving a lot. And you can see that we've still been doing pretty well while the dollar has just been trading sideways. However, it has traded sideways for so long now that it has broken the downtrend. And if we zoom in a little bit, you can see that 821 might just start crossing soon. So this is something I'm going to be keeping an eye on here to start Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to see if we do get a cross or not. But ideally, in order to be more confident that equities are going to continue higher, I want to see a move back down below this pivot in this 236 at 102.11. While we're just kind of hanging out here, if we do just continue sideways, equities can still continue to go higher because, like I said, the market's like a stable dollar. Looking at equities, I'm drawing this uptrend now, and I might be doing it a little prematurely. However, I'm seeing a weekly pivot here at 48.84 and the previous weekly pivot at 48.64, and we are very close to that. So we have approached some sort of resistance here to begin the week, or to begin this year. And even though it's at all-time highs, you can see that resistance is here. Like we had this big red candle, and then we've gone back up last week since. And I think we might start seeing a little bit of a local top here. Now, I'm wrong if we eclipse 48.84. Then we can just keep going. So I'm kind of just being cautious still. And I would love to get this retracement back down into this box in this zone here. And you can see how wide this range is with our fib levels and our pivots. And our pivot lines up really nicely with the 236. That is drawing the trend, assuming this is the local high, right? So if we do go up and make another high, I'm going to have to extend this a little higher, and that changes things as that happens. And so, like I said, I might be drawing that a little prematurely. But when you get into new all-time highs, things get difficult because there's nothing back here to help us with support and resistance, right? I do expect equities to continue higher over the midterm, maybe longer term this year. But for now, I'm kind of monitoring this to see if this is turning into some sort of double top, which I hope it's not. But if it is, we're going to know about it, and we want to be prepared, right? So I'm just remaining cautious on equities and waiting for a little bit more confirmation. Same thing with the NASDAQ. We got a little bit of bearish divergence going on here where this is making a higher high and the RSI is making a lower high. So I want to kind of just monitor that over time. The NASDAQ can be divergent for a really long time. It was here for a really long time. This was all pointed down. And so it can continue to do that just like it did before. And so I'm not saying like this is definitely coming down. I'm just being cautious. I'm wrong also if we get over R1 at 17,430 and close the candle above, and that's still quite a ways away from where we are now. But I would love to long on a retest back down on the trend and in this zone here where things have consolidated and there's a lot of volume inside this box. And so that's where I'd like to take like a longer term call on QQQ if possible. My stop loss would be at this pivot underneath here. If we lose that, then I'm out. But I'm pretty confident that we're going to tap that box eventually, and then that's where I'm going to try to take things long. If we look at stablecoin dominance, we have now crossed bullish on the daily for the first time since here, which was all the way back in October, right? We've been bearish on stablecoin dominance for, what was that, 4 months, almost 5 months now. And so now I'm thinking we might get a retest down on top of that 8 EMA, and then that's where I'm going to look to scale into a short on Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin and not alts? I don't want to short alts because if you look at the total 3 chart, it is also crossing bullish on the weekly, right? So this is total 3 minus stablecoins, and then we're dividing Bitcoin. So it's just you're looking at altcoin market against Bitcoin. And right now, it's turning bullish, and so I don't really want to short alts. I think alts could go up while Bitcoin goes down, and that right there is telling me that this is now starting to become possible. Our MACD is still under center, so we might be a couple weeks away still from this actually materializing, right? But these two indicators down here are lagging indicators, and this 821 is a leading indicator, right? We use these as helpers. We use them to find divergence, which can be a leading indication, but just by themselves, they are lagging. It's not going to show you what's going to happen in the future like the 821 EMA can, right? So we're looking at altcoins here now to move up while Bitcoin moves down or sideways. When we look at Bitcoin, you can see that we have yet to close a weekly candle outside of the golden pocket. And this has been the plan all year, was that we were going to eventually get up to this golden pocket and we might touch that 786 and then a downtrend begins, right? And so I think we're starting to see that happen. I think that we could get many wicks up to get near the 786. It could continue to try. As long as we stay over the 8 EMA here, that is possible, and it can be very erratic and very crazy. If we just go look at the last cycle, I want to show you the same thing. So here you can see we never closed a weekly candle above the 0.71, right? Let's go look at the last cycle and see what happened here. And to see this, all you have to do is just draw your bear market downtrend, and you'll notice that we didn't have a single candle close over the 0.71 here either. But we did have 2 wicks up to tap that 786. Right? And so this is kind of what I think we might see. Now you notice we tapped it here, we didn't here, and then the following week we tapped it here, and you can see how many weeks it took to actually start moving down. So don't jump the gun here on shorts. I think that we have plenty of time potentially to scale into that. And just know that if we close the candle over 50K, then this can just continue. So you have to be cognizant of that as well. Like that is a possibility. This cycle is full of things that never happened last cycle. So I could totally be wrong and Bitcoin keeps going at some point. I don't know. All I know is that I am going to go with what has happened in the past and try to use it to better my odds of being correct. That doesn't mean I'm going to be correct. So if you're someone who's been dollar cost averaging Bitcoin all year with us in the Discord and you don't want to sell, then don't sell. Like, I'm not telling you to do that. I have taken some profits up here. So far, I'm happy with that, but it could bite me in the ass. I don't know. If I have to rebuy over 50K, I'll do it. But until we clear that 50K mark and hold there, I'm still thinking that we're going to see a downtrend and back down towards this 32,730, 33K mark. You can also see that just because I drew that downtrend, I now have a 1.272 mark up here, and you can see that that was the basis of this mark here, this support here, and then we broke that resistance here with that big green candle and have been up ever since, and we have not retested it. And so that is another reason why I think we need to retest it. Not only is it the 0.5, very exact, you can see how these two fibs are overlapping each other here right around 32.7. So I have two major fibs in this exact same spot that, created resistance prior. We close a candle over, we're up only after that, and now we're starting to get some bearish looking candles. But like I said, it could take some time before we come back down here. Where this intersects on the trend line is February 12th, so we're a little less than a month away from that. And then that would be several weekly candles that would potentially get us there if that's, the case. My target down here is somewhere in between 32K. Actually, it could be as low as 28.8, like a wick down there, and then still close above if things get really, really crazy. And like 36K. That is going to be the area where I'm going to be buying as much Bitcoin as I can. And then that's where I'm holding, and I'm just going to continue to hold in dollar cost average. Even if we start moving back up again, I'm going to keep buying as much as I can, and I stop buying at 50K. Like, I will just let it go after that. So with that said, if we look at the CME chart, we have another gap that was created today. So we closed Monday on the CME at 44.5, and we opened today at roughly 42.420, which is right where the 0.68 is. So these levels here are all the levels that we could see this week potentially. There's a gap to fill all the way down to 39.640. You can see that gap right here. And there's a gap to fill all the way up to 43.165. So like all of this is possible this week. If this gap fills, it could continue to keep going. Notice that the EMAs on the CME chart are not bearish yet, whereas on the daily on Bitcoin, they are. So right now the spot chart is turning bearish while the CME is still catching up. So we might need to wait for that to happen before we start getting really confident in shorts. I know that a lot of people are probably starting to scale in shorts right now because of this last week. I don't blame them, but I don't like chasing the big red candle, just like I don't like chasing the big green candles. It requires patience in order to win at this game. And if a lot of people are starting to jump into shorts, they're not going to just let them have it easy. Like, it's not just going to go down for you and you're going to make money. It's never that easy. So it's best just to be patient. Maybe wait for this gap to fill to scale into your first shot, right? And then as we continue to go up, you'll want to just kind of scale in, understanding that we could go still tap that 0.786. It hasn't actually touched on the CME, and it hasn't actually touched on the spot. However, there is an instance where it didn't, if we go back to the cycle before this one, which is the cycle that looks more like what we have now. This looks more like what we have now compared to what this cycle gave us, right? And so if that's the case, and you draw this downtrend just like we have before, you can see that we came very close to that 786, but never actually touched it, right? And then it took a couple weeks after getting close for us to actually start moving down, right? And then notice after that, it was like a really long time before we actually made the next real move down, right? Until we started moving back up again. So this is going to be kind of what I'm looking for. If we look at the weekly, that was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So roughly 2 months of downside action after getting really close, right? And if you kind of just take into account when the halvening is, kind of lines up pretty well, right? Like two months from now is going to be close to April, which is close to the halvening, which is something that we might get here. And that's kind of what I'm anticipating happening, right? It might not even be worth risking trying to short it. Might be better off just waiting until we get down here to long it. It's actually probably the better, more safer play. But if you're a short-term day trader or swing trader like I am, then we're going to be trying to get into these shorts, and that's what I'm going to try to do. Like I said, I might get wrecked. I don't know. But I'm going to try it because this is just what the charts are telling me. If we look at ETH Bitcoin, here's another reason why I'm not shorting alts. We've been scaling into Ethereum. We've been swapping our Bitcoin for Ethereum, or at least I have, and I know some people have in here as well. I know Jungle has been, for quite a number of weeks now, and we're finally starting to see the rewards of that. We've been noticing that ETH Bitcoin has been touching this 6-year-long trend line, and ever since we saw that, we have been swapping Bitcoin for Ethereum, and now we are very happy with that decision. You can also see we have some severe divergence here on the weekly, where our price is pointed down and our RSI is pointed up, and now we're up over 50 on the RSI, and this is starting to point in the upwards direction. But again, the MACD is still well below center, and there's still plenty of time that this needs in order to get to a bullish situation again. Will we have something that looks like this? No, probably not. Because why? Look at the MACD where it was when this happened. The MACD is well over center, and it took all of this time of below center to work its way into a situation where it could do this. Notice that the big moves up like this all happened after the MACD was above center. Meanwhile, while it was below center, it was not as dramatic, right? And so since we are so far down below here, it's still probably going to take a while for this to become super bullish and actually break the downtrend and start getting up into these areas here. And that might not be until we get our real alt season, which is going to be after Bitcoin retraces and starts moving up again. Bitcoin dominance takes over. It finds some sort of local high, and then Ethereum can kind of take over. And I've already posted in the weekly Outlook channel the phases and how this all works. You know, first it's Bitcoin, then it's Ethereum, altcoins, microcaps, and so on. What we're seeing now is like a little like premature phase of all of these cycles playing out, I think. And we're not actually seeing the real phases that come with the real bull market yet. So I think we're going to get a little mini run of all of this before Bitcoin finally finds its bottom somewhere around the 33 to 36K range. Then it starts moving up and we reset. Like all of these cycles just resets back at phase one again. And again, you can check that out in the weekly Outlook channel. I just shared it recently. So we haven't covered Ethereum yet, I don't think, right? So Ethereum has tapped the 0.618. Which is right around the 2665 mark on the CME chart. Notice we did not close the candle above, so we still could continue this momentum up into the golden pocket. Now, one thing I want you to know is that looking at the spot chart, we have the same deal, right? Like we didn't close above into the golden pocket yet. There are a lot of gaps down here below on the CME chart, and so like all of this down here above that red line is kind of fair game. Like this could come all the way back down here and fill one of these gaps before it continues this uptrend. So just be aware that that could happen. We did kind of break this top line here, but it's really not something I want to use anymore. Like I'm just going to delete it, because notice how many candles were breaking above, breaking below, breaking above, and like it was just all over the place on this line. And so it's obvious that this line is useless, right? So the line that I really want to pay attention to is this 2200 mark. You can see this line is useful. All of these candles closed above. So if we do ever get a candle that closes below 2200, we got to be on the lookout for all these gaps down here to fill. But for now, we stay above 2200. We are good to potentially keep going. One thing that I want to show you, though, is that even with all of the Twitter FUD and everybody talking about how bad Ethereum's been doing compared to other altcoins, sure, Solana did amazing. There's been a lot of other altcoins that have outperformed Ethereum over the last months, and everyone's wondering if Ethereum's going to make it. Ethereum is still doing better this cycle than it did last cycle. Notice that this cycle we have gotten so far as the 618 on this retracement back up. If we go look at the previous cycle, on the same part of the cycle where we had our rally, and we measure, Ethereum never got past the 0.5, right? And it wasn't until Ethereum got past the 0.5 that it actually began its bull market again. So far this cycle, Ethereum is already doing better than it did last cycle. So I don't really care about what people are saying on Twitter. I didn't care 4 weeks ago when I was swapping Bitcoin to Ethereum then, because I saw that we got past the 0.5, and I knew that last cycle we didn't. So you can see it rejected here, tried to reject here, but eventually closed over, broke, and now we're at the 618. So I still like Ethereum moving forward. I like Ethereum over Bitcoin moving forward, and I'm going to continue to dollar cost average my way into Ethereum over Bitcoin. I hope that helps. And this chart helps me do that as well. And then looking at Bitcoin, this helps me know that Ethereum is stronger than Bitcoin right now as well. Looking at the total 3 chart being bullish, it tells me alts are stronger than Bitcoin at the moment right now as well, with potential to do a lot more. And we're going to monitor that as we go. All right, so I think that covers everything. Oh, looking at Bitcoin against the NASDAQ, notice that we're selling off in the golden pocket. Closed another candle below, and so Bitcoin and the NASDAQ could come down, right? And that would mean Bitcoin just comes down further and more aggressively than the NASDAQ. So this is another thing that's kind of telling me that the NASDAQ might be locally topped. I can't see, I mean, maybe. It's kind of hard. We got to see what happens. But right now we've just closed candles below the 8 EMA and the golden pocket. So at the moment, Bitcoin looks weak against the NASDAQ. Okay, I think that covers everything. So let's start the chart requests. Here's a Tau chart for anyone who is looking to average their way in. I'm going to be looking for the 180 to 170 mark to try to buy some more, because that's going to be the sign of a strong trend if we tap that 0.382. Let's see, what else should we look at? I think that's all. I think that's all I'm covering. So, all right, any questions? Check. I used to look at that one. Yep. Yeah, this looks pretty good. So, you know, you're bullish on the weekly. We've got a little flag pattern here that we're breaking out of now on the weekly. On the daily, it's kind of just slowly grinding back up here. So just, you know, you might want to just try entry as soon as it touches that 8 EMA again. We're above pivot, so it's bullish on the daily. It's bullish on the weekly. If you just take its last downtrend, we're clearing the 0.5. We already sold off in the golden pocket. We're trying to get back up over. So these are your levels, and if we can clear this 0.0808 mark here, then it's going to shoot up to the next level. And then really you want to clear this 786 and 10 cent mark. And once it does that, then it can just keep going pretty high. And that's how you have to play these altcoins. You have to take them one level at a time. And then when they clear a level, then you can say, okay, I'm going to hold. But until then, it's hard because it's so erratic. I mean, you can go up 100% and then lose 60% of it in you know, a week, right? So you either have to just hang on for the ride or try to trade it with the levels that are given to you. If we just take this entire thing, come on. All right, so yeah, so this could be considered a sell-off already in the golden pocket, right? Hit the golden pocket, sell off, find support below, and return. And so if you see this return back up above 10 cents, above the 10.58 mark, and like find it as support, that's just confirmation that this is going to continue and keep going. So that's what you're going to want to see. Short term, we have a nice 0.5 level here that we need to break. And should that happen, we could get, you know, some quick moves up. MACD's bullish, RSI's bullish. Break that 0.5, and this can see a nice quick, you know, I don't know what, 25% increase up to the 0.618. You'd have to keep your stops just below, and it's such a large area. You could lose a lot if you get stopped out, but this is the nature of altcoins and what you have to deal with. So you're gonna have to keep your stop loss underneath the 21 EMA on the daily. So that's how I would approach that. SYN, yes, I'm liking this one. I'm liking SYN. So straight through everything. Let's go to the weekly. And I've just taken the local downtrend just to just from this high to this low, just to see if we're really breaking trend. And to me, we're definitely breaking trend. But we could get, you know, a quick move back down to retest the 8 EMA where the trend is, which is all the way down at like 52 cents. Before continuing higher. You can see when this does its uptrends how much it can wick back down before going back up, and then another wick back down, right? So it could be pretty nuts. But overall, we are just beginning to break the downtrend, right? And so this could be a nice buy and hold. And you can see that the weekly EMAs are now bullish. And our first target would be up here in the 167 to 220 range before it sells off. Maybe find support down here again before it continues. We'll have to monitor that as it goes. It's probably going to be a while. And this is another reason why I don't think alt season's like completely here yet, because it really doesn't come until everything is like up here and about to just fully blast up into the take profit targets and beyond. So I think we're just beginning to see altcoins begin their moves, and so these are good places. When you see a chart that looks like this is a good place to just dollar cost average in, let it sit. You're going to be holding it for a while before you're going to take profits up into these zones. It could take months, right? But this is what you're looking for on altcoins, is a break of trend, 821 EMAs turning bullish, and then now we're buying, right? Sure. Are we buying after a huge, massive move? Yes, we are. But this is the nature of altcoins, and this is when you have to take your shots. Your stop loss needs to be all the way down here underneath the trend and underneath the 21 EMA, and that's like 33% from where we are right now. So yes, you could take major hits, but when you're trading altcoins, you are taking major risks, and this is just what you have to do if you want major rewards. So you have to have thick skin, and you have to be willing to hold drawdowns. But this is the only way to have confidence that this is beginning to have some sort of upward trend, and will be really good later on in life. I hope that helps. ARK, one of my babies. I love ARK. Okay, so we're kind of just beginning an uptrend, it looks like. And it's going to take a little while, but I fully have confidence in this. You can see we're just kind of, chop ranging around where we did before we had the massive move up again. And I can totally see this doing the same thing and having like one big shakeout of some sort before actually beginning. And so I purchased my first ARK again down underneath $30 where we were able to nail that golden pocket touch. And I can draw that again just to show you. So if you just take its all-time low, come on, to its all-time high, get rid of that one, you can see that is where we bought it, right at the bottom of the golden pocket. And that was a beautiful entry. And so I bought a lot there. And then I bought a little bit more somewhere around like here. I kind of got a little overzealous, thinking we were just going to keep going like an idiot. But I'm still okay holding it. I didn't get rid of it. And now I just kind of want a dollar cost average whenever it makes its move back down into this lows. But it's still making higher highs and higher lows, and this is what you want to see. So don't panic if you bought one of these peaks. This moves like crypto, and you have to understand that the drawdowns can be pretty big because of its volatile nature. But this is investing into disruptive technologies, and I really like Cathie Wood. I think she's a lot smarter than people give her credit for, and she's put together a lot of really cool funds that disrupt technology. And if you're not into trying to figure out what those are on an individual basis, you can just buy her ETFs instead and let her do the heavy lifting for you. Or you can go to arkinvest.com and dig into each one of these ETFs and see where the what she has in them, what has the most weight, what's she the most confident in. You can also sign up for her newsletters, and she sends emails once a day with all of her buys and sells for each ETF, as well as newsletters on what she's thinking and what she's looking at in real time, which I think is pretty cool. All right, so moving on. Tia, this thing is like a monster. So it didn't eclipse 20 yet, it doesn't look like, but it's getting there. And I've been kind of waiting for it to tap this little 1.618 right here at 2067. And I have an alert set for when it does that, because I do want to try to short scalp it there. I personally don't have TIA, so I've just been short scalping it in order to make myself feel better about not having any. But I do not recommend doing that. It's not a good idea. This is super bullish, and I wouldn't recommend shorting it. But I do see it going up to this $20 mark. It is going to be a big psychological level for it as well, and we'll see what happens when it does hit it. But this is the first, or this is like kind of the last take profit zone just on this little downtrend. So there's no real trend to measure on this. It looks like Caspa, where it just kept going, and you know, people couldn't figure out why. I honestly don't know why. I don't know what the big deal is about it. I know it was an airdrop token, and it's its own layer 1, I think, and blockchain. So it looks pretty good. I wouldn't, you know, necessarily sell yet. If you've been in from the very beginning and got a bunch of free tokens, maybe you want to take some profits. It's free money. I don't know. Up to you. I don't know what the sky is on this or where it's going to top out until I see some sort of top and then a retracement, and then I can measure it. But for the time being, I'm not going to buy in this high either. So I'm just leaving it alone and trying to find things that I'm more comfortable with personally. I thought maybe it was in a wedge, and it broke the wedge too. So that's kind of out the window. I don't know. It just keeps going up. It's one of those like costs, and I never got any costs either, and I'm fully okay with that. I don't need it. I can definitely find other things to make money on, and I just personally don't like taking on risk on stuff like this. Like, there's not even like a channel to draw. Like, there's just nothing I can do with this. Like, maybe there you go, we can go up here. You know, so when I can't be confident in trading something, I just leave it alone, and I'm fully okay with that. This is one of those ones that just breaks the norm, you know. So SUI. Okay, it's a nice big giant V. Is that as old as it gets? Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, okay. So I'll go back to Binance. So I would ignore that one and go here. Yeah, so, you know, we're all the way through all those zones, and every time we get through here, there is usually some sort of pullback, which we could see back down to the 8 EMA. So right now, this is getting through the greed and FOMO zone, super bullish. And if I was going to personally try to take a trade on this, I would wait for a pullback at least here to try to enter long. Or if you're going to enter long now, you have to keep your stop loss like underneath that red candle's wick. But really, I would love to see an entry somewhere down in this vicinity first before I tried to get into it. If you're already in this and have been holding for a while, then you just hang on. And you'll want to just move your stop loss up as you go. You probably have to use the daily because this is so, like, even there, you'd have to keep your stop loss like down below the 21 EMA and just kind of move it up as it goes. Take profits would be up in this vicinity here in between 1.272 and 1.618. So that's where I would take profits if it ends up, you know, just continually blasting up through here. These are your levels to take profits, and keep your stop loss in, you know, this golden pocket area. MNT. Wasn't that a... Okay. Okay. This might already be in the take profit areas. Yeah, it is. So, yeah, it's already kind of up in the take profit zone and already selling off. So now what you have to do is wait for the retracement or the break of trend, or see if it retests trend. So that's actually the main trend, and it broke it once and then reclaimed it. So if it breaks down below again, then I would wait a little while and you'll have to measure the uptrend. But right now you can't until there's like a for sure top. And what I mean by that is, like, I can't measure this, right? Like, I can a little bit and see that there's some levels here of interest. So maybe that is showing me that that's a top, and I can leave it here for the time being to see how far down this comes. But ideally, you would want this to confirm the trend break and start making a move to the downside before you can be confident that that is a top that you can actually measure, right? And then you're going to want to buy it down in the golden pocket if you like it long term. So a quick move all the way down to the golden pocket would be great, or a steady downtrend down where it consolidates in the golden pocket for a while would be great. But it can stay moving upward as long as it finds support on the 236 or the 382. And if it does find support on the 236 or the 382 and starts moving back up again, then you can be confident that this is a strong uptrend and that we could go see new highs. So that's how the fibs work. Once the 382 breaks, your trend is basically broken, and then you have to wait for it to find new support and create a new trend to then be able to measure those. I hope I made sense there. RUNE. Okay, so it looks like we broke some sort of trend at some point. Ugh, that's gross. So when I look at something like this, I'm not interested at all, because this is how it makes tops. You can see each one of these was a top. It didn't get to the top of the golden pocket. It actually started selling off from the 0.68. And now you can see we have fallen back below the trend. This is not what you want to see. You want to see support on the trend and start moving in a positive direction. And so this is kind of red flagging to me. This $4.08 area is super important. You can see the 21 EMA and the 0.5 there at the same time. And so that would be a great place to take a scalp if you had the opportunity. Like, you see a quick move down, we tap both of those areas. We're currently on the pivot, it looks like. So below that becomes bearish, but then you have these two spots right here as support that you could potentially scalp it from here back up to 445-ish, or back up to that pivot. And so that's the trade I'd be looking for, is if it did make a move down there, try to scalp that long, but then take profits at that pivot. And that would be a nice, almost 10% move that you could take advantage of on leverage, and you could make quite a bit on, and just keep your stop loss just underneath. For right now, I wouldn't take this long on any sort of mid or long-term gamble unless it broke back up and closed above that downtrend, because this formation is concerning, because it looks like all the other tops, and you can see that all the other tops had significant drawdowns after making that move. So I'd be careful with that one. INJ, where are you? There you are. So, I mean, it's still holding pretty damn strong, and it's because it's already up through its greed and FOMO zones, and it's basically just chilling sideways now for several weeks. And so I still think that this is going to make its way up into these levels, and I'm wrong if we close the candle below the 8 EMA. And so right now that's at $32, and as long as we stay over that and continually keep grinding upward, then I still think that we're going to see these levels up here. I mean, it's definitely outperforming Bitcoin right now. It's just really strong. It just stays up here. So until we break that 8 EMA, I'm still thinking that we're going to continue grinding higher. The Widowmaker shorting TIA. Yeah, it's not a good idea. I have one twice, and I might call it at that. I'm 2 for 2 on my TIA short, and I think that makes me feel a lot better about not having any in my wallet. When will we know when it's no longer bearish for USDT TD to rise, or it's always bearish if it's rising? So it's kind of always bearish if it's rising, especially in shorter term environments. If it's kind of just grinding up slowly with Bitcoin going up at the same time, then that just means there's a bunch of money coming into the market, and it's just immediately being converted into crypto. And that happens sometimes. However, most of the time it's not. So there might be a rare case that happens in the future when we get into the up-only bull market. But right now we haven't seen it. And we're already retracing and seeing USDT move up. So I don't think you'll actually see that happening unless we're in like the thick of the serious up-only bull market, which hasn't come yet, in my opinion. I don't think we're there. I don't think we're going to be there until we get through 50K. Until 50K breaks, we won't be in a situation like that. But who knows? We might at some point later on when that happens. I would love to see that. I personally haven't actually seen that happen yet, like in real time. I can go back and look at the old charts and see that it does happen sometimes. And it usually only happens in this scenario here, like right in this kind of 2 or 3 month period is the only time that I've seen it. So, and again, I don't think we're there yet. AVAX. All right, so AVAX tapped the 618 and fell back below the 0.5. It's kind of getting a little bit of a reversal looking candle here on the weekly off the 8 EMA. It's kind of like a spinning top doji candle, and now we're starting to move back up. So I think we could long AVAX here on a swing. You just got to keep your stop loss, underneath the 8 EMA at 30, let's call it 33.90, and maybe a little lower in case you get wicked. So that might not be a bad trade to try to take this up into the golden pocket here, because it has yet to get there, right? So that's typically where things go, and so I can't rule that out. Stop loss would be that 8 EMA, and if we start rejecting and coming back down, then just get out and wait for maybe a 21 EMA to try to grab it. That would be a great place to maybe buy some. We'll see. I still am not sure about AVAX. Notice it's definitely not as strong as most alts have been. So yet to be seen if it's going to really make it or just kind of become one of those coins that, does this for a while, sideways for a long period of time. AKT. This is one of the ones I like, but I have been taking profits on it because we are right into that take profit territory. The 1.272 to the 1.618 is take profit territory if you were lucky enough to buy down here. Notice the pattern. So the pattern always looks a little bit different every time. With altcoins especially, because there's a bunch of ranges of how many tokens that exist and supply and demand. So here you can see I drew this downtrend, right? And following that downtrend, we get up, we tap the 786 into the golden pocket, and we sell off a lot. And notice how far down it sold off, all the way back down to the 236 before making its move back up, finding support in the golden pocket for several weeks. I mean, this was months almost, a couple months of finding support in the golden pocket. Big green candle through the greed and FOMO zone, tap the 1.272, take profits, come back down, support on top of the greed and FOMO zone, and now up only since then. That is the classic pattern. This is just how it works. Sometimes things just keep going up to the 1.618. Sometimes they get a retracement. It's not always the same. All you have to know is that as soon as you see something sell off in the golden pocket and then return and find support in it, this is the area you want to be buying. And then you can just hold that, because then it doesn't matter what's going on up here. You're safe down here, and you can hold on through all these swings, right? So just know that you want to be buying on the second return to the golden pocket when you see support forming in it, and then you can have a really good entry on things. FET, that's the other one that's really cool. I like that one a lot too. All right, so same sort of thing happening here. Notice I'm using this downtrend instead of that one, right? Because we came up and made a new high and then had a new downtrend. And so I want to go off the last major downtrend when I measure things. Notice the 786 touch, golden pocket sell-off, support below, come back up. We found support in here. It came through rather quickly, and now we're reaching into greed and FOMO territory. So this should repeat the pattern. But that doesn't mean it can't come back down here and find support again and then move back up. You have to buy this with the confidence knowing that this is a bullish pattern and that it will eventually get up to these levels. When, I have no idea. It doesn't help you time the market. It just helps you know when you can be confident in buying something, right? You can definitely see resistance happening here, so maybe we get a pullback. But if you get any pullback down to this, 50-cent level or 48-cent level, you see something like that, then yeah, it's worth trying to grab some of those at those levels. That was the previous resistance here, now turned support. And so you just have to try to buy your stuff on support and resistance levels that you can see from the past that line up with your fibs. And then just hang on for the ride. If you break up over the 886 here, then this can really start moving. And so if you see a close over 84 cents, then you might need to just jump on the train. All right, BLZ. Okay, let's see. Guess I'll go with that one. That's hard to chart because it's already way up there and it's new. It's already all the way past these take profit levels too. So, you know, I don't know. I don't like charts like this. I don't even know what the hell this is. But we're approaching the trend line, so maybe you want to take a shot. Yeah, I mean, maybe as soon as it touches that line, we go ahead and make another move up to the 2.272 here, because we've definitely surpassed the 1.618, and so when you pass the 1.618, the next main target is the 2.272. So you'll have to just kind of hold on and see what happens, but I would definitely keep my stop loss right around the 1.618 here, where you can see the previous resistance. Notice on altcoins like this, like they do not follow the fibs as well, because there's less liquidity, there's less people trading. Fibs are good for figuring out what human behavior is doing on any given asset. And the less humans you have involved, the more this doesn't work, right? It works really well on Bitcoin, not so much on Blaze token, right? And that's because there are way more humans trading Bitcoin than this token. And so you get a lot more accuracy, which is why I like to stick to things where there's a lot of volume, because I can read the charts better. So with this, you're just going to have to take shots in the dark more often than not and try to buy it around that fib touch or that trend line touch. Or if you're in this from the lows, great. Consider taking profits for sure if you bought this down here, and convert it into something safer. Just because it continues to go up higher after you sell it, that's okay. Like, it's not a big deal. You made money. At some point, there's going to be a lot of people who don't make money on this. They're going to lose their ass. And as long as it's not you, then you won, right? So don't feel like you have to nail tops or feel like you have to be obligated to holding something because the community you're in says to hodl and you're a little sissy girl because you didn't hodl. Like, that's crap. I've seen this happen and I've seen people get killed. So just make your money and move on. All right, MNW. This one's disappointing, but I still think it's going to have its day one day, and I'm still just hanging on. But there's like a downtrend, and it's still kind of sitting on top of it. So I don't know. You know, I don't like that it's still rejecting that 0.5, but I think one day it'll have its day. There's so little tokens on this that at any moment in time it can just take off. So I'm still kind of just holding the bag I have. And who knows? Right now it doesn't look great. Weekly's bearish. So I definitely wouldn't be buying any right now. I'm kind of just holding on to a bag that I think I'm negative on at the moment, and I'm not happy. But I don't really want to sell unless it breaks down this little area here. I don't want to give up on it yet. So you can see there's a 95-cent mark here, where if we fall below that, then yeah, I'm gonna have to consider just letting it go and finding something new, but I don't want to give up on it just yet. That chart doesn't have all the data. Yeah, I don't really know what chart to use on that. So like Binance. Does Binance have more? Doesn't really look like it. Unless that's better. Is that more? Is that better? If that's the case, then yeah. So we're rejecting the 786 and that R1 weekly pivot. So yeah, this would be a take profit spot right now, or a shorting spot. And then it's a shorting spot because the 786 is usually a hard resistance, right? It's usually something that rejects at least the first time it touches it. And so right now, this trend is touching it for the first time, although for several weeks in a row, you can see it can't clear it. And so it's a good place to be able to short something and keep your stop loss really nearby. And as a trader, that's what you want. Like, it doesn't mean that you are giving up on this token or this project or whatever. Like, if you're just a pure trader, you want to short that and keep your stop just above, because that creates the minimal risk. Like, you are risking the least if you get stopped out, and your potential reward is like really big if it falls down to the 0.5, let's say. And so when you're a trader, that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to minimize your risk at all times. You want to enter short or long on levels that you know will be of interest or get a reaction out of, and then that way you are minimizing your risk by the entry that you're taking, and that is the best way to do it. So even though it is bullish as hell, like, I did the same thing with Sol, where I wanted to short it at 124 or 123, right? And that's why, because look at the amount of risk I'm taking when I short here at 123.40 and keep my stop loss, you know, just above. I wouldn't have been wicked out, and I would have been able to short this from that point and make 32% on spot. Like, imagine if I was able to short that with, you know, 3 times leverage. That would have been 100% play in just a couple weeks. So that is why you short that level, because that is what can happen. If it comes in wicks and stops you out, fine, you lose a couple percent. But you're losing a couple percent with the ability to make a lot. And so that is the, you know, the low risk, high reward setup that you're looking for as a trader, even though this is absolutely insanely bullish for many weeks in a row. 786 gets touched, you get a reaction. 618 gets touched, you get a little reaction, right? And so those are the areas that you can take advantage of on high time frames that can give you those scalps or those little one-day trades that end up netting you a lot of money. All right, so I hope that helps. I hope everybody enjoyed the weekly outlook this week. I don't like being the bearer of bad news, but we trade the charts, and that's what we do. And so when we see things coming that we can better prepare for, I hope that I can provide that value. All right, thank you so much. I'll post the recordings and my weekly synopsis in the Weekly Outlook channel. Thank you all for coming, and I'll see you during the week. Have a good one. Bye.